Hello everyone, I'm Kendi. Today I'll be showing you how to renovate a door frame. Here's a quick look at what we'll be covering today. First, we'll discuss what materials are needed, how to remove old bolt holes, filling in gaps and holes, sanding the door frame, painting the door frame, drying time, cleaning up, and then we'll look at our final result. If you watched my previous video, you'll know that I just replaced my front door and removed my old security door. Now, looking at my door frame, it honestly looks pretty bad and I can't stand it anymore. Not only does it look unappealing, but there are several holes left behind from the old security door hinges. There are also lock holes from the security door bolts and a bunch of paint marks left from the previous homeowner. Not being rude, but they didn't do a very good job. As if all of that wasn't bad enough, but there are nail holes from things that were previously mounted around the door, and the seams weren't done very well either. So today I'm going to renovate the door frame so that it matches my brand new stunning door. Let's get started. For this project, we'll be using sandpaper, masking tape, a clean cloth, paint and a brush, regular putty and flexible putty, and a scraper. Step 1. Removing old bolt holes. First, I need to remove the old security door bolt holes. Ideally, I should also be removing any hinges and other accessories, but I actually took care of that yesterday when I was removing the door, so I won't be showing that stage today. Next, we need to clean up the work area a little bit. Since this frame has been here for many years, you can see there's a lot of dust and debris inside, so before we make it new, I'll give it a quick clean and then wipe it down with a cloth. Let's move on to step 2, filling in gaps and holes. I'll be using putty to fill in these areas. Important tip, for gaps between different materials, regular putty won't work well because when the temperature changes, there may be expansion and contraction, meaning you may be left with cracks in your work over time. For that reason, I'll be using flexible putty. I'm going to first apply a bead of putty with my caulking gun and then smooth it out with my fingers. Once that's done, we just need to wait for the putty to dry. The drying time depends on how thick the putty is. Thin layers can dry in a few minutes, while the drying time depends on how thick the putty is. Thin layers can dry in a few minutes, while thicker areas might take 30 to 60 minutes. Now's a perfect time for a lunch break. By the time I'm back, the putty should be dry. And we're moving on to step 3, sanding the door frame. Now that the putty has dried, we're going to sand it down and give it a smooth surface. For this project, I won't just be sanding the areas with putty, I'll give the entire door frame a light sanding, making sure it's nice and even. If you watched my last video, you might remember that I used water-based paint for my door. I personally prefer water-based paint for various reasons. Since the door was brand new and had never been painted before, any type of paint would have stuck and dried well. However, in today's case, the door frame has been previously painted. Based on its gloss, I can tell that the existing paint is oil-based. So if I wanted to repaint it with water-based paint, I'd have to strip off all of the old paint, which is a huge amount of work and I'm not up for that. So instead, I'll use oil-based paint as well, which will interact easily and save a lot of prep time. All I need to do is lightly sand the surface to make sure it's smooth for the new coat. We don't need to remove the existing paint completely. Now that the sanding is done, I'll wipe off the dust with a cloth and use masking tape to protect the areas I don't want to paint. That brings us to step 4. Painting the door frame. Today, I'll be using British paints, the oil-based version of course. It's white, just like the original colour of my door frame. As mentioned in my previous video, oil-based paint has better coverage than water-based paint, so I only need to apply one coat. I've already discussed the pros and cons of water-based versus oil-based paints in my last video, so I won't go into detail here. If you're interested, you can check out my previous video. If you've sanded off all of the old paint, or if you're using water-based paint, you might need 2 to 3 coats to achieve the same result. Little painting tip, it's best to work from top to bottom. And we're done! Now let's move on to step 5, drying time. As we know, oil-based paint provides great coverage, but it takes a long time to dry. In my last video, when I painted the door with water-based paint, it dried within an hour, so I could apply the next coat fairly quickly. But for this project, I'll need to wait a full 24 hours before touching it. If you need to apply a second coat, you should wait at least 12 to 16 hours before doing so. Generally, you'd paint in the evening and apply the second coat the next morning. That way you pass the time sleeping. Since I'm only doing one coat, my job is already done. Which brings us finally to step 6, cleaning up. It's time to pack things down. I've thrown away my paintbrush, so that's one less thing to do. Of course, you could clean your brush with mineral spirits or paint thinner, but I personally don't think it's worth it. A paintbrush costs just a couple of dollars, whereas paint thinner costs about 10. So rather than going through the hassle of cleaning it, I'd rather just buy a new brush. Now let's take a look. I waited a bit, and I can now peel off the masking tape. You don't need to wait for the paint to fully dry before doing this. In fact, if you wait too long, the tape might stick to the paint and become very hard to remove, especially in this case since oil-based paint is very sticky. So once the surface has dried a little, you can start peeling off the tape. Well done! We can now see our final result. I've removed the tape, so let's check out our difference. The door frame and the new door finally match. And that's it! If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, consider clicking that subscribe button. I regularly upload DIY videos to help you with your projects. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.